There are less than 5 weeks until the summer 2021 transfer window receives the all-clear from FIFA to be opened. That is not the same thing as the transfer window actually being opened for your club necessarily, since leagues have the power to select their own dates in which teams can do business so long as it is within the bounds set by FIFA, which are June 8th to August 31st. Many leagues, including the Premier League, are yet to announce their official transfer window dates, at least at the time of this recording. Of course, that doesn't stop teams from scouting, scheming, and even signing players, just on pre-contract deals that will be completed whenever the window does open. That is the subject of today's video, and this is the 6th time that I've made a video of this ilk in a little over 2 years. So, I suppose you could say it is becoming something of a long-running series. Given that the point of these videos is to recap on pre-arranged transfers that you might have missed or that you might be unaware of, I'm not going to include Dayot Upamecano's pre-arranged deal to join Bayern Munich for €42.5 million, since I think the vast majority of you were probably already aware of that one. I've also chosen to leave out any transfers in which players have agreed to join clubs whom they are already on loan at, for much the same reason. Without further ado then, here are 7 pre-arranged summer 2021 transfers in no particular order. Mohamed Simakan to RB Leipzig. I just said that this 7 is in no particular order, and it isn't, except for the fact that I decided to start with Mohamed Simakan. That's because I just mentioned Dayot Upamecano's pre-arranged deal to join Bayern Munich in the introduction, so I thought I might as well follow that up with a man who looks set to replace him at the Red Bull Arena. That man is Mohamed Simakan, who is one of France's absolute embarrassment of riches when it comes to talented young centre-backs. Born in Marseille and of Guinean descent, Simakan just turned 21. Released by Marseille at the age of only 14, Simakan came through the youth ranks at Strasbourg, where he stepped up to the first team last season. He was so impressive during his breakout campaign that he drew interest from Premier League, Serie A, and Bundesliga clubs, but Strasbourg held firm. Simakan has now played 44 games for the 15th place Ligue 1 side, and their resolve was finally broken around 5 weeks ago, when they accepted a bid worth more than €15 million from Leipzig. A powerful yet composed centre-back with plenty of pace, Simakan has been compared by his Strasbourg boss to fellow French centre-back Raphael Varane, and it seems likely he will battle with fellow youngster Josko Gvardiol for a starting berth in Leipzig next season, as the Croatian returns from an impressive loan spell at Dinamo Zagreb. Marcus Berg to Gothenburg. Now aged 34, Marcus Berg will likely go down as part of a select number of centre-forwards who are far too good for non-elite level leagues, but seemingly not quite up to the rough and tumble of playing at the very highest level. A quick look at Berg's goal-scoring record could lead you to believe that he is one of the finest centre-forwards of his generation, with the Swede having struck 264 times in 526 games at club level and 23 times from 84 caps on the international stage. However, during his only stint in one of Europe's top 5 leagues, at Hamburg, he only managed to score 13 goals in 70 games, before heading off to Greece and then the UAE, where he scored goals aplenty. Seemingly winding down his playing days now, though still a full Swedish international, it was announced last month that Berg had signed a pre-contract agreement to return to his boyhood club in Gothenburg once his current campaign with FC Krasnodar draws to a close. Still as sharp as ever, Berg has never been the quickest, but his movement, aerial prowess, and ability to score with either foot should ensure that he continues to score plenty of goals back in the Allsvenskan. Pepe to Porto. There is of course already a Brazilian-born player named Pepe at Porto who is enjoying a stellar stint back in the city, even at the age of 38. Just 2 days separates Porto's current Pepe and their soon-to-be rival Pepe's birthdays, born on February 24th and February 26th respectively, but the younger Pepe is some 14 years younger than his future teammate and club captain. The younger Pepe, who represents Brazil at under-23 level, was born in the city of Foz do Gacho, which is home to some pretty stunning waterfalls. Pepe played for both his local team and for Grêmio as a youngster, enjoying his real breakout campaign in the top flight in 2019. An archetypal Brazilian wide man, Pepe is quick, dangerous, and has bags of flair. He is right-footed, but tends to operate on the left flank, where he can cut inside onto his stronger foot and wreak havoc. Porto struck a deal worth north of €15 million to sign the 24-year-old in February, who will officially join the club in June, and is expected to become an immediate permanent fixture in Porto's first team. Kieran Gibbs to Inter Miami. One that probably did register with most of our subscribers at some point, albeit you could be forgiven for subsequently having forgotten about it. Kieran Gibbs will wave goodbye to English football following 14 years as a professional in the country this summer. During that time, Gibbs has only actually had 2 permanent clubs: Arsenal, where he made over 200 appearances, having come through the Gunners' Academy, and West Bromwich Albion, where Gibbs has played exactly 100 games, having suffered repeated injury setbacks over the last 2 seasons. Once considered to be Ashley Cole's heir apparent for both England and Arsenal, Gibbs did go on to become a regular fixture at the Emirates, in addition to winning 10 caps for England. However, Gibbs failed to really kick on and become the player that some had hoped, and he played his last game for the Three Lions at the age of only 26. Given his ongoing fitness problems, it always seemed unlikely that West Brom would look to extend Gibbs' contract this summer, and indeed they didn't. Somewhat surprisingly, to me at least, Gibbs did find a suitor over in the States, and he will link up with the likes of Blaise Matuidi, Gonzalo Higuain, and Ryan Shawcross at David Beckham's Inter Miami franchise at the end of the Premier League season. If he can stay fit, I've no doubt Gibbs is capable of being a really solid MLS fullback. But if the last 2 years have taught us anything, it's that is a pretty big if. Astor Vranckx to Wolfsburg. The bulk of pre-arranged transfers in recent years have been players brought to the Bundesliga, which perhaps speaks to our stereotype of Germans as being well-disciplined, organised and efficient. Wolfsburg certainly wasted no time snapping up 18-year-old midfielder Astor Vranckx from Mechelen earlier this season. Their eagerness to complete the deal is understandable given Vranckx's enormous potential, and had they failed to act fast, one suspects they would have been pipped to the post by a bigger club with deeper pockets this summer. Wolfsburg reached a deal with both player and club to sign Vranckx all the way back in December when he had made fewer than 20 appearances for Mechelen in total. A gifted, elegant and intelligent midfield technician, Vranckx was born in Belgium but is also eligible to represent DR Congo. He set Wolfsburg back a little over £7 million, which would seem like an astronomical sum for someone with only 40-odd games under their belt a decade ago, but now seems like a bargain for such a talented prospect. Capable of playing as either an 8 or as a 10, a clip of Vranckx went viral online in September with the caption, "This is the most horrifying miss in the history of football." And it was pretty horrifying in truth. That wasn't enough to dissuade Wolfsburg from signing the teenager though, and nor was it enough to stop Vranckx impressing this season, with 6 goal contributions from midfield, even if it really should be 7. Brian Brobie to RB Leipzig. Talking of players snapped up nice and early by Bundesliga sides, Brian Brobie is another Benelux-based teenager who has caught the attention of one of Germany's top teams. It is no secret that Ajax have probably the most consistent and impressive academy system in all of world football, but to their dismay, the lack of money in the Eredivisie can make it difficult to hang on to their top talent. Whilst the club did at least get around 3 or 4 seasons out of the likes of Donny van der Beek and Matthijs de Ligt, they have lost prolific youth team forward Brian Brobie before his Ajax career had really even begun. Brian Brobie, who is of no relation to Brian Bedonde, scored a fairly remarkable 25 goals in 35 games for the Netherlands at under 15, 16 and 17 level between 2017 and 2019. Also eligible to represent Ghana, given his form for the Netherlands at youth level, the Orange will be keen not to lose him. That is something that Ajax have already done unfortunately, despite having been desperate to keep hold of the teenager. Whilst fellow youngsters signed contract extensions in Amsterdam, the club just couldn't strike a deal with Brobie, despite his desire to remain at the club. A cynic might suggest that it had something to do with Brobie's agent being a certain Mino Raiola. Whatever the machinations, the reality is now that the prolific 19-year-old, who has scored 6 goals in 16 games for Ajax's first team, will join RB Leipzig as a long-term replacement for Timo Werner in July. Kayky to Manchester City. If Ajax have a problem with losing their most talented players too early, then pretty much the entirety of the Campeonato Brasileiro is suffering from the same ailment, but just tenfold. There are fewer finer illustrations of that fact than teenage wide man Kaki, whose sale to Manchester City has caused quite the stir within the Brazilian game. Born in Rio and a graduate of the Fluminense Academy, Kaki has been taking youth team football by storm at the club over the last 12 months. At the start of this season, he scored 9 goals in 8 games for Fluminense's under-17s from the right flank, prompting his promotion to the first team. To date, he has only played first-team football in state-level competitions for the club, scoring twice in 8 games. His quick feet, agility, and willingness to take players on and beat them has earned him comparisons with Neymar, so it's little wonder that Kaki attracted such immediate attention from European giants. In the end, it was Manchester City who secured Kayky's signature for a fee of €15 million. Journalists and many supporters in Brazil have criticised Fluminense for cashing in on Kaki when the wide man is still only 17, suspecting his value could have skyrocketed had they kept him at the club and allowed him to develop in Brazil for a few years. It is also not always the best move from a player's perspective for their development to move on so young, though it seems certain that Manchester City will look to loan Kaki out next season, quite possibly back to Brazil. Kaki isn't the only teenager at Fluminense set to join the Citizens on a pre-contract deal, with Pep Guardiola's side also said to have all but clinched the signing of DR Congo-born midfielder Matinho as well. So that is it for today's video. There may be a part 2 at some stage, who knows, but thank you all as ever for watching. Please do hit the like button if you enjoyed today's video, apparently it helps a lot with the algorithm. Let me know your thoughts down below in the comments, and make sure that you are subscribed and have notifications turned on by just hitting the little bell icon for HITC Sevens. You can also find me on Twitter or Instagram by the username at HITC Sevens on both, should you wish to do so.